With the lease option, at least the way that the lease is priced today, you can wrap in a battery with your solar and still get them a monthly payment that's on par with their current electric bill, and then essentially they're getting the emergency backup benefits for free. Well, that worked when we could finance the systems at 3, 4, 5% interest. But now, if we're looking to do those same solar loans, we're looking at 8, 9, 10% interest. I think that really is the backdrop for all of this, is that we have interest rates, as you all know, interest rates have risen faster this year than at really any time in history, just in terms of the aggressiveness of how fast the central bank is hiking interest rates. I saw a headline on Bloomberg this morning that home mortgage interest rates, the average home mortgage interest rate is now approaching 8%. And so, when you talk about a solar loan, most of us who have been in the solar industry for a while, we're used to selling solar loans, but typically, if you've been doing this for the past 5 or 6 years, we had been offering interest rates in the range of maybe 2.99% to 4.99%. And we were able to offer those loans over terms of 20 or 25 years. And so the way that worked out for many homeowners is that they could do 100% financing on their solar system and end up with a lower monthly payment to pay for the solar than what they would have had if they just stuck with the power company. So in terms of making the sales pitch, making the value proposition, it was very simply like, hey, do you want to rent your power or do you want to own your power? Right? Many people choose to own their home with a mortgage. They can maybe keep their monthly housing expense about the same level, but over time with a home mortgage, you build up equity and you protect yourself from future inflation. And that was essentially the same offer that we were making people for their energy. Hey, don't rent your energy, buy your energy. Even if you have to finance it, we'll give you a low interest fixed monthly payment that's lower than what you're throwing away to the power company anyway. And then eventually you pay it off and you have free power. And Dan, for you and I here on the East Coast, that was the basic pitch, right? It was like the bill swap. We weren't saying, hey, you're going to save, cut your bill in half. It was more like, hey, if you're paying 150, $200 a month to the power company now, why not just pay that to yourself in the form of paying off your solar loan? And then eventually you'll own it and you'll have free power. Well, that worked when we could finance the systems at 3, 4, 5% interest. But now if we're looking to do those same solar loans, we're looking at 8, 9, 10% interest. And so the monthly payment, if you're just comparing monthly payment of a solar finance a solar loan payment versus what the homeowner is paying to the power company, now in many cases they may have to pay more to switch to solar. And so it's really just not as attractive as an option. Now, with the lease, that's not the case. And so let me put this on the screen here, because there's a few key points that differentiate the lease versus the financing. And the first point is it's going to be the lowest monthly payment possible. I'm running multiple lease proposals every week. I actually just sent one out to a homeowner in Jacksonville earlier this afternoon. And what we're seeing is that the lease monthly payments, same system, same payment to the installer. And we'll talk about the structure here in a moment. But that the lease payments are actually about a third lower than what the loan financing payment would be. And so I think if you're used to selling on the immediate cash flow and the monthly payment savings, the lease is going to offer you the lowest monthly payment options. And I have some examples I can show you here later in the broadcast. But Dan, at this point, I'll throw it over to you. Any feedback on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to chime in, and I didn't want to break your train of thought there, but I think it is important, guys, if we take a really quick step back. I've talked about this in some other trainings, but the value of what we sell, right, as solar, as a service, as a product to homeowners, we have to put that in context as compared to other sales type professions and sales activities. And what I mean by that, and I've said this before, but solar really is incredibly unique. Frankly, from one perspective, the easiness of what it is to accomplish that sale. And here's the reason why I say that. Name another product or service out there that a homeowner or an individual or just a regular person is not having to increase their cost to acquire that service, right? For example, if I want to go get a new car, most of the time that means my monthly expenses have now increased, but I wanted to drive this particular vehicle and I had a reason in my mind that I could justify why I wanted to make that purchase. If I wanted to buy a home and I wanted to upgrade my home. Maybe I'm going from a townhome to a single family home. Most of the time, that means that my costs are going to increase, right? My expenses are going up. And it could be other things too, right? Maybe it's not something that you have on a monthly payment basis, but maybe it's someone's offering to sell you a product that costs $5,000. Well, in order for you to purchase that, you have to part ways with $5,000 of your own money that you're not going to see back. Instead, you're going to get back in return the product that you're exchanging that value for. Solar is very different, right? Solar is very different in the sense that this is something that every single homeowner and renter, but we're really only able to sell to homeowners. Every single homeowner in the US is already paying for, right? We're already paying for electrical costs every single month. So sometimes you have to kind of remember that from a sales, professional perspective and say, hey, look, the service that I'm providing to you, whether you choose to go solar or not, you're already paying for this, right? The money's already going out the door. Wealthy or poor, it doesn't matter. You have a monthly utility bill. Now, the goal really, and I view it as more of a service sale than it is maybe a product sale, is that the goal is you're trying to help them own and control something at a lower cost. And sometimes when I say own in this respect, I'm also actually referring to, you could lease the system, which you don't technically own, but you're getting the end service of utility provide, power to your home, energy being produced that you can use at a lower cost. And so kind of keep that in mind as we work through this and talk about that. Things have changed, obviously, like Joe was already alluding to in the economy, but the value of somebody going solar is, look, you already have this expense. So you can never, the objection of, oh, I can't afford it is 100% irrelevant, 100% irrelevant, right? So we as sales professionals have to learn how to overcome that objection. But the simple reality of it is anytime someone says, oh, I can't afford it, or I don't have it in my budget, or something else to the financial objection point, it's a very mute point, because the reality of it is you're already paying for this. You're already paying for it in power bills. In fact, us helping you go solar, in this case, especially with the lease, I think I can confidently probably say 10 times out of 10 will reduce your monthly cost, unless you were installing a system on a home that was just so bad for solar that it doesn't make sense, right? Shading problems or whatever it may be. But this will be a monthly reduction for somebody. So the whole I can't afford it is a 100% cop out, not a real objection. You just have to learn how to properly say that in a professional way and overcome that, and make sure they understand that, make sure your prospect understands that. So I just wanted to kind of chime in on that point there, Joe.
Yeah, no, always good to reinforce that, because again, price is not the issue. Price is not the issue 99% of the time, because if they can afford to pay a power bill like they're doing now, they can afford anything that you're going to offer. It's going to be better for them long term, even if it's a lease and not an ownership. And that's the other thing with the lease as well, is that you are going to find for many of the lease companies that the credit requirements are lower than with traditional bank financing or with a traditional loan financing. And so this also may help guys with some of the credit fails, where not only can you get the customer a lower monthly payment, but you can actually qualify some customers that otherwise wouldn't qualify with some of the traditional solar lenders, companies like Dividend or Mosaic, for example. Not all leasing companies are the same. A lot of the example I'm going to show you guys today is with Sonova, which I believe is the biggest solar lease company. And it's the one that we're using the most in terms of outbound proposal volume. And I'll show you a little bit some of this, what their proposal looks like here on the screen in a moment. But each leasing company has its own standards, but in general, I think you're going to find you're going to get more approvals. Just a quick word from our sponsor, Savant Power, and the Savant Energy Management System. If you're considering an investment in a solar plus storage system, then you're going to want to have maximum visibility and control of how much energy you're harvesting, how much energy you're storing, and how that energy is being distributed within the home. The new Savant Power system allows you to dynamically control which circuits are on and which circuits are off depending on battery state of charge, allowing you to extend your battery running time during a blackout. The system also includes an integrated electric vehicle charger, allowing you to charge directly from solar or from the grid, or a combination of both. So if you'd like to learn more information, you can visit the Savant Power website or click the link in the description below so that you can get in touch with an installer right away. If there's any repairs or maintenance needed on the solar equipment, it's at the leasing company's expense to make whatever those repairs or maintenance are. Now, typically, if you're doing solar purchase, even purchase with a loan, typically you are going to have a 25-year guarantee from the local installation contractor. But, Dan, as you know, and many of you watching this know, the failure rate among solar contractors is high. And so there's a lot of homeowners out there where they had the system installed and the installer offered them a 25-year guarantee, but now the installer is out of business and there's no one to honor the warranty claim. So now the homeowner has to go hire another contractor and pay, in some cases, pay several $1,000s to have them fix or repair or replace equipment on their defective solar system. Now, with a lease system, you have an extra layer of protection. Now, you should still have primary warranty service from your local installation company, because the way these leases are structured, the local installer is getting paid by the lease company just like they would get paid by the bank once they've installed the system. So they should still honor their guarantee. But since the leasing company themselves are guaranteeing the system performance for the entire lease term, which is typically 25 years, then if the original installing contractor goes out of business, the lease company just goes to another one of their enrolled contractors and have that contractor perform the service. So I think it does give a certain an extra level of protection for the homeowner. I actually have a slide I'm going to share with you in a little bit, showing exactly sort of what those key benefits of the Sonova warranty are. But I mean, basically, you have the backing of the finance company guaranteeing the warranty claims, whereas a warranty from a local install contractor, again, that contractor may do great business. They may be in business for many years, but many contractors fail, which means that the warranties that they had issued pretty much fail with them. The next key advantage here, as far as the lease goes, sorry, Dan, let me bump you for a second, is that there's no tax credit requirement. And so, with a solar loan financing, for those of you who've sold solar loans, you know that the monthly payment that you're given during the introductory period, which is usually the first 12 months or the first 18 months, it assumes that the homeowner is going to capture the entire 30% federal tax credit and apply that to the bank so they can keep the low monthly payment going forward. So that's sort of a best case scenario, that the solar loan estimated monthly payment assumes full tax credit is applied within year one. And what I've heard talking to some of the solar finance company executives offline is that only about 25% or so of people actually capture the full tax credit and make the full pay down within the grace period, which means that their solar loan payment bumps up. With a lease, you don't have to worry about that. There's no tax credit requirement. The leasing company is able to take advantage of the tax credit through some type of financial engineering that happens on their side. But the reality is, it doesn't really matter what the homeowner's tax liability is, or the homeowner is not required to file any forms or make any pay downs. It's pretty much all taken care of for them by the leasing company. So this is also really helpful too, because there are many retirees out there. They're on Social Security. They just don't have enough taxable income to be able to take the full tax credit, or to take it in as accelerated a pace as you would want to. Or I've talked to some folks who are military disabled, and so their income is not taxable. And so they want solar. I've talked to many of them. They like the whole idea of being energy independent, more energy secure, but they just can't take advantage of the tax credit. So the lease solves this problem as well. Dan, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. I think that is a major plus to have, even if you just kind of look at it as a professional, as a solar professional, having different tools in your belt that you can use given different circumstances and scenarios. What I've oftentimes seen over the years is I would say that my average client that I've worked with probably is around the age of 60 is probably what I would guess. But that means that that's an average, right? So there's quite a bit of people that are older than that might already be in retirement years, might be living off of a fixed income, Social Security, whatever it may be. And oftentimes it might be those individuals that their incomes are not going up anymore, but their power bill, as appliances age and the home gets older, is going to continue to increase, let alone obviously with inflation and with other policy factors. So oftentimes the no tax credit scenario could be ultimately the most compelling reason to use a lease, because sometimes it's the people that need it the most, that need the bill savings, that need something that's more flat and predictable, that could stand to benefit the greatest from a lease. Now, there are some other things, and maybe we'll unpack this a little further, where certain states won't allow leasing, right? Because there can be a little bit more of a predatory environment with leasing, because it can be sold and spun in a way where, oh yeah, you're just trading your bill for something cheaper, but not really explaining things in a proper and an articulate enough way that they understand what the real impact and cost would be. So I know, for example, in my home state here in Virginia, we don't have leasing options currently available. Our options in Virginia are traditional solar financing or cash purchases, but both of those are considered ownership. One of them being a loan, one of them just being an outright, purchase. So there is a little bit of area there that I think can be tremendously beneficial, but it also, like we always preach and talk about, it has to be done the right way. It has to be done above board, ethically and transparently. So don't think you can just go running around, selling leases and taking advantage of people. So that's a big part that needs to be acknowledged.
All right. So if we go back to our list here, so number 4, we talked about the no tax credit requirement. So number 4, and we've touched on this a little bit because of Ryan's question, but no maintenance cost or no maintenance risk for the homeowner, right? Pretty much all the risk, all the burden of keeping the system healthy is on the leasing company itself. And I'm going to put this on the screen here now. So this is the Sonova lease, the 25-year guarantee. And I don't know if this is large enough that you guys can read all of it, but basically what this is saying is that for 25 years, they're going to do system monitoring, they're going to do diagnostics, they're going to pay for any repairs that might be needed on the roof, and they're going to provide a 10-year warranty on the roof leak as well. So if the homeowner thinks there's a roof leak related to solar, they just have to report that within the first 10 years after the installation. So this is what Sonova, as the leasing company, is putting themselves on the hook for, right? 25-year equipment, 25-year power production guarantee, and this is really a new thing. But if you have batteries as part of your solar installation, they will actually replace the batteries halfway through the lease term. Right now, most batteries only have a 10, 12. Actually, Enphase just up theirs to 15, but most batteries right now just have a 10 or 12-year warranty. And so since Sonova is guaranteeing the performance of the system over the entire 25-year lease, they will actually replace the batteries with new batteries halfway through the lease term. This is really unprecedented for me because if I look at the numbers on it, what they charge, which is about $2,500 per battery, to do that free battery replacement in year 12, you're essentially getting 2 batteries for every one that's on your original installation agreement. Again, to make sure that you have a fully functioning system over the entire 25-year term. And I should touch on another thing too, is that having battery storage friendly leases is also a relatively new thing. And that's frankly, Dan, probably why we shied away from them back in the day, since we were doing 50%, 50% attachment rate on our solar projects, is that the leasing companies historically wanted to keep the total cost per kilowatt hour of the lease down within a certain range. And so when you start adding on the cost of batteries on top of that, it just throws the economics off. But now the leases are all storage friendly, where they treat the battery as like a separate item, that they have a financing structure that's friendly to adding batteries. In fact, in California, virtually all the new systems are having batteries now, and we're able to wrap those into the lease as well. So maybe you're dealing with a homeowner that wants to have solar, not just for electric bill savings, but they really want to have that true energy independence for emergency backup reasons. With the lease option, at least the way that the lease is priced today, you can wrap in a battery with your solar and still get them a monthly payment that's on par with their current electric bill. And then essentially they're getting the emergency backup benefits for free. So I think there's a compelling offer to be made there as well, particularly in places like Florida, Texas, where you have frequent power outages, frequent disruptions to the electric grid. There's a lot of folks that I deal with there that are very much, preparedness and resiliency minded. And I see this as a great solution to help them to become energy independent as well, in a way that's cash flow neutral, or better.
All right. I hope you're getting some great value from today's video content. Now, if you would like to have your product or your business or technology featured on the Solar Surge channel, feel free to reach out to us at the link below so you can set up a call with our media team to talk about your marketing goals and how Solar Surge can help you get there. Solar Surge is the leading online community in the U.S. residential solar and energy storage space. And so if you'd like to get your product, business, or technology in front of our audience, we can help you do that. Again, feel free to reach out to our media team at the link below or email media@solarsurge.net.